Hello. Thank you so much for coming today. And I really appreciate your interest in journaling and showing up and really spending this time together and also making the time for yourself, of course. So, true confessions, I apologize that there was a technical glitch and the recording did not work this morning, so this is take two. So the light, as a result, is going down, and it's a little bit, may not be super fantastic. Anyway, we will do our best. So first off, just even to get centered into journaling, just come into your body and just get into the practice of when you set the space for yourself. Make a nice space, light a candle, grab your favorite pen, maybe a calligraphy pen. And really just sink into this space that's just for you, the time, because it's a really precious time to, explore your inner world and your universe and your personal experience, and to really make it sacred space. Having said that too, really the only rule is to be open, be curious, and be gentle with yourself, and to also abandon all rules. This isn't school, this isn't grammar. It doesn't have to be an artistic narrative, doesn't have to be well written. You're not editing it, you're not publishing it. And if you are writing something to be published, you can edit later. But when you're writing, you just let it go, you just let it be, and you explore. So we're going to look at some examples of collage, of painting, of jazzing it up creatively. And it doesn't matter. You don't have to be an artist. You don't have to be a writer. You don't have to be a poet. You just have to be interested in yourself, in your world, and the world in general, and the experience of living. And that's what journaling is for. So, we spend so much time focused on the external and what's going on around us, and we need to just bring that focus back to ourselves sometimes. And women in particular really need to make those spaces for themselves. So yeah, just coming into a breath, just coming into your center. Just beginning to really let it all go. Soften your face, come into your heart space. Just imagine that as a flower opening. Feel your feet on the ground, really push in your feet to the earth, really feel the sensations in the bottom of your feet. Just imagining your back body in 2020, all the experiences we've had, all the sort of contradictions of this year, imagining your back body as 2020 and leaving it behind. We're moving towards nearing the end of it. And just imagine all that's behind us. And then coming back to your front body, imagining all that's ahead of us and in front of us. And here we are in the center point of winter, the deep darkness of winter solstice on Monday. These are dark days, so just coming into that place to hibernate, just letting the roots from the soles of your feet that you're feeling on the ground really sink deep, deep into the earth. Just let yourself center before we start the practice. So again, be gentle, be curious, and keep coming back to that. And don't be going into comparison around, well, yeah, but I don't draw and all the rest of it. This is a chance to doodle. Everyone can doodle, and we forget. It's just like with kids, whether they play so easily, they don't think, well, I don't know how to play. They don't. Everybody does. All kids do artwork. All kids, even when we're young enough. I mean, at some point we learn we have preferences, we may not want to paint and that kind of thing. But initially, it doesn't matter if you're naturally drawn to being an artist or towards color. You have the doodling within you, and this is what this is about. It's just giving permission to unlock some of the stuff, some of the rules, some of the preferences even that we assume that we still have. So All right, let's take a look. We're going to just move through talking about some of the images. So again, you don't have to be an artist, but everyone can do a heart. So, just even do a series of hearts and do different variations for yourself around focusing on what is the theme of appreciation, health. I mean, even a heart doesn't have to be love. It can be, deep emotion, connection to animals, nature, connection to yourself, connection to your health, the vitality of life, the life force. There's so much that we can equate with heart and the heart itself, the heart of life. Again, it can be a mixture of words and images. And oftentimes, that's the hybrid that we create ourselves. For myself, I'm very much a visual language and written word, so they combine. For you, you may be more comfortable with verbal or with the written, and or visual language or color or texture. So it's really just looking through and, thinking about all the masks that we wear and different identities. And the pages can be all kinds of things, combinations of sketchbooks and journaling and collage, which we'll get to in a little bit. All right, now this was a little video, which I don't think we'll click on. Oh, yeah, actually that would work. So this is a video of a little sketchbook that I collaged the cover. It's just an example of painting the background so that you have something to start on. You're not threatened by the back page. I mean, the blank page. And you see the background pages. Some are white, some are different colors. That's sometimes an easy way to start. I'll talk a little bit more about mandalas later. There's a mandala. And again, mixing words and images. Sorry if this is making you dizzy. So, and the like. Moving through that one. And just, letting yourself, adding tape, adding collage pieces, adding phrases. Simple. Using block letter, practicing with printing, all the differences there. So that's just an example of that's sort of more of an art combination journal. This one is an image also taken from that. Again, starting with some words and a theme, and it allows you to reflect on it differently. Now, maybe you don't like drawing, maybe you do, maybe you just start. Maybe you start playing around with that. Maybe you're a comic, maybe you do comics, maybe you do doodles, maybe you're actually really love drawing. So let yourself experiment. Just stop telling yourself that you can't or you don't, or it's just staying open, not psyching yourself out. As you can see, this is a page of words, practicing, playing around with thinking about a theme, and then just wondering, like, even if you show up and you're not sure what you're feeling, or you're not sure what you're wanting to write about, picking words and imagining, okay, well, do I want to explore my sensuality? Do I want more joy? Do I want to reflect or meditate on abundance, or creating more creativity, finding my higher self, more laughter? What do I want to call into my life? Deeper compassion. Maybe I've been really irritated with people lately, and how can I become more compassionate? So this is just a way of seeing what comes off of the top of your mind, sort of unwinding at the end of the day, and then using that as a base for reflection. Again, do you want to reflect on how is love showing up in your life? How is love feeling? What's your unconscious belief about love? Do you think love is scarce? Do you think love is everywhere? Do you think the universe is love? Do you think there's never enough love? And explore that. asking questions, going underneath it and see what shows up. The dandelion is a perfect example. I love dandelions. Some people strive all summer to kill them and have the manicured lawn. It's always in the eye of the beholder. I love dandelions. I have no idea why people need manicured lawns, but we're each different. So here's an example of collage in the background. So you can take this, you could take from newspapers, from magazines, from anything really. You could take from old journal pages and just cut shapes out, use it as background, or take some written material and then cut them into leaves, create images on that. So you can do all kinds of things with this. And then even from the background, from an article in the newspaper, you could pick out, okay, what do you think of when you think about the Roaring 20s? You could do a decades in review, like what were you doing when you were 20? What do you want to be doing when you're 80? How do you want to feel? How healthy do you hope to be? What's your legacy in life? What was your youthful impulsiveness? Reflect on the decades as they pass. Use that as a base. Yeah. Okay, so this is lists of words because we don't always have to do a narrative, as we talked about before. Maybe you have insomnia. Maybe it's midnight. Maybe you just got back from a glowing, beautiful evening because it's not pandemic and you were out socializing or you're out dancing and you're feeling great. You come back and you just want to sort of wind down for the evening. So make a list of words for yourself. It doesn't have to make sense. It's a touchstone for you in terms of going inward. It's a touchstone for you in terms of reducing stress, lowering your blood pressure, getting into flow, just checking in with yourself, letting go of all the mental constructs that we have, just sort of racing in our cranium all the time, bringing down the vibrations, allowing your parasympathetic nervous system to just ground. Just like our feet on the floor at the beginning, we just want to root into the earth. And this is one of the ways that we just connect to that inner world and that inner experience of ourselves. So, psychologically, we do think of ourselves as a home. So if you think about journaling as a way to kind of clean out the closet, you come in, your mind is a house, you got to sort of open some of those sort of tightly locked doors and really explore and sort of poke around a bit. So this is just a natural written page. Here's a, this is self-explanatory. Again, it's painting the background and then just using inspiration on the front. This is one of the ways you could use a quote, a favorite quote that you have that you enjoy, and think about, okay, well, I'm just going to make an inspirational backdrop for myself. This is an example of what I would call an ugly page. So this is in my journal, and I started painting, and it was just sort of a mishmash of colors. So the back is like just watercolor or acrylic, the red, the orange, the teal. And then the navy blue is actually tissue paper that's collaged all over the place. And, I came back to this page and did it in sections. I still thought it was really ugly and it was bugging me. So I just started needing a unifying feature. So I picked a white pencil crayon and I just started doing circles. Now, it's not because I'm not saying that this is become a finished piece or anything, but this is just for you. It doesn't matter. You're not making this for anybody else. And so the advantage of doing repetitive shapes like circles is that it's relaxing. It allows our mind to kind of unwind. It's like a meditative practice. It's like the same kind of rote, repetitive thing. It's like crocheting or knitting, or these things that bring us into a rhythm. So the idea is also that circles, of course, are the circle of life, the mandala, the symbol, our power symbols, our power shields. These are the things that kind of anchor us. And in an unconscious way, just the repetition of doing these dots, it's relaxing. It's like the adult form of coloring. It's like jigsaw puzzles, all of these things that just give us a bit of relaxation space. So, journaling can look like just an outlet for creative Yeah, and paste and glue. So obviously we know what this is, but this is a good example for the travel journal. What I always like to recommend is that you carry just a small light. These are easily found at Opus. They're easily found at Michael's Craft Store. Blank pages. I like blank pages because it allows me to do writing or doodling, or what is that? Just, doodling. But every page is different. So yeah. Focus. So this is just an example of when they're light and small like this, they're easy to put in your bag, always have them with you, and just, then you never lose sort of ideas. Obviously, again, using big block letters to explore, we also get bombarded by so many factors, news, this year in particular, 2020, I mean, there's been pandemic, there's been the election, there's been, politics, there's been the emergence again of the necessary work of anti-racism and Black Lives Matter and BIPOC Lives Matter and, so many social issues just rising to the fore that have always been present, but that it's just another way, another opportunity for us to deepen social change, the necessity for it. So when we get bombarded by all these news and events, going to journaling and just even allowing ourselves some time to unwind and kind of, okay, well, what do I think about this? What do I need to do about this? What can I do to be a part of the solution? What can I do to change? How do I feel saddened by this? How can I just experience this? It's a private place for you to really cultivate all the layers of bombardment by the external world. And then also get really clear about your own viewpoint and your own anchoring, about how to re-strengthen and show up in the world for good. So, okay. And yeah, this is again sort of taking notes and, a combination of things. This is reflecting on you. Even if you hear a line from a song, you pull it out and maybe it resonates with you. You love a theme song and you just let yourself doodle. Stars, flowers, hearts. This doesn't matter. You don't have to be good at drawing. It's just letting yourself doodle. It's letting yourself come to the coming to lettering even in a different using it as filling it in or light spirally lines. So it's just letting yourself unwind. Lists of words again. They can just be a starting point. And if you have trouble coming up with spontaneous words or lists of words for yourself, grab a novel and just pick out random words and write them down in a list. And then if you're doing a creative writing exercise, you can actually string them together to create a story if you want to do some creative writing, or if you want to do more for yourself around your own experience and this your personal experience, then think about, okay, well, what does this make me feel? When I hear the word ignite, what do I feel? Like, does that inspire me? Does that scare me? And just notice, what are your responses to certain words? And are there words you recoil from? Are there words that you make you giggle, all that stuff. So just paying attention and becoming more aware. Obviously, this is a travel journal, and traveling, again, the portable one, the beautiful thing about it is just taking little notes at the end of the day after a big day. When you're traveling, you usually are busy doing stuff. You don't always have a lot of energy at the end of the day before you fall into bed, but you don't want to forget all the good memories. So even just lists of words, little diagrams, little kind of collage mixes of your travel snapshots. Spacious. Okay, so this is an option of what do you need most? If it's spaciousness, making that, just focusing on that as a theme and writing that out in a way that you just remind yourself. When you start to look back at your journals, you may see repetitive themes. And this is also how we learn about ourselves. Where are our blind spots? Where are we not paying attention? Where do we need to pay more attention? What do we need? So maybe, what do we need? Where is the lump? Well, maybe we're feeling lonely, or maybe we're feeling tired. Maybe the day was troubled. So it's just a way of outletting things. Um, this is what I would call a word cluster. It was actually a request of someone who gave me a list of words that we're hoping to have as a butterfly, and this was one of the warm-up sketches. And so the idea is, how do you transform grief and sorrow and pain into transitional metamorphosis to the place where we can thrive again when we're through the shock, when we're through the crisis, when we've connected back to hope and resiliency, and we've found refuge and we've found mercy even in our own sheltering, because we need time to heal ourselves when life is sending us storms, for healing and for re-strengthening. Again, picture of just easy doodling when we go back into the world and we can go to coffee shops more easily. And I relish just having a bit of time to myself in public where there's maybe background music, some background people and energy. It's just enough noise and stimulation to keep you out of questioning, what am I doing? What can I say? It's sort of a little more stimulating than necessarily sitting always by yourself at home alone, but not so distracting that you can't focus. So it's a lovely place to just have a journaling practice and go have yourself a latte or a cup of tea in public. So that's a nice way to do it as well. Again, in that particular page, I'm just doodling shapes and lines because sometimes that's where you're at. You're not sure you just want to sort of explore, and inspiration is not constant. So you sometimes have to come back to it. Or you can start with using quotes. Again, just, bringing your little portable pencil case. A collage is such a wonderful, easy thing to do to get under the radar. So you don't have to overthink it. It's like handing back, film is perfect, handing back, re-tapping into the wild, re-tapping into our wild self, sensing into what are we experiencing. It's coming out of this idea that I got to get this right. I want to be smart. I want to sound smart on the page. I don't want to see weakness or vulnerability. That's what journaling is about, is showing our vulnerability and our weakness and our fears and our imperfections. So this is just, the messier the better. So there's nothing more therapeutic than cutting and pasting. Kids do it all the time. When we allow ourselves to get out of the way and we just do some cutting and pasting, it's fabulous. So here we go. Here's an example of just with the collage. You don't have to overthink it. You can just respond to images, respond to words, find them, grab them, and then just, you put them together, and then afterwards you think, okay, well, so now what can I reflect on around this stuff after the fact? And so, using different words, using different pen color, make it a little more interesting. And travel journal again for when we are maybe waiting for a medical appointment, going through a difficult time of stress. And, it's just a little tool for ourselves where we can drop onto the page instead of just sitting there feeling helpless, waiting for doctors, waiting for tests, all those kinds of things. It's just an outlet for ourselves and a little way of being an ally for ourselves and feeling a little more control over remembering and exploring and being an observer of ourselves and the experience and life, which gives us an action role. Yeah, and a little sense of control. Okay, so the black page can be comforting. Sometimes there's something about a blank white page that can be really intimidating. So the beauty of a black book, if you can still see me on the camera, you can see that this is, again, Michael's or art stores. You can get blank pages. This is a beautiful thing about this, is using colored pencil crayon or gel pen. That's a wonderful thing to do for this. It just allows a different way of coming at it. It's kind of a little more interesting. Again, an example of words for just playing around, just releasing, and doodles, that kind of thing. Setting intention. What are your intentions for the year? What do you want your intentions to be for next year? Are you on track? This is a way of also reviewing for ourselves and keeping track with it. So it's an opportunity for different starting points. The mandala. So here we are. Again, you don't have to be an artist. You don't even have to be visual to play around with making your own power mandala around. Maybe you're going through something you want for healing. Maybe you want it as your grounding, you know, like a family coat of arms. And so start again in the center. You just start with the center, a little circle, two little seeds, and then you keep making shapes around and then around again, a circle of triangles, hearts, triangles, and repetition. It's all about repetition. And that in itself is both relaxing, it lowers blood pressure, de-stresses you, it gets you into flow. And then you've got this thing at the end that is, you know, something that you might like. So this is an example of a looser type of mandala image, a little more Jackson Pollock kind of free form, spontaneous. I think that's some chalk pastel, gel pen, gel paint. So what is journaling for? Well, you know, it's to slow down, to simplify. And again, it's coming back into the senses. It's just really allowing yourself into your wildness, into your organic state, into your heart, into your energy system. Not just all up here in the head, thinking, surrendering into this experience of the tactile, of your, again, cleaning house, like sweeping the floors of your mind, sweeping, you know, uncluttering the closet. Travel journal example of storms in the, you know, being just a quick little sketch reminds me of the power of the wind and how crazy a storm was that we were in, and, you know, gel pen writing. So these are just some variety of ways. It's the beginning really to all the ways you can journal and sort of break out of this idea that it has to be neat and tidy, linear narrative, and good handwriting with, you know, proper grammar. It does not. It needs not be any of these things. It's really giving yourself the freedom to do it all. Using it for travel, for illness, for difficult transits, for grieving process, celebrations, for, you know, oh, you're getting married, you know, how are you feeling? What are you wearing? What are, you know, exciting things, births, you know, all of it, the whole mix mash of life. You know, being in your first pandemic, this is like just being kind to yourself and exploring. All right, so we had a few questions on the earlier call. So, you know, again, collage, I would carry around a kit with a glue stick and a couple of pens. This is, again, a collage. So you don't have to be able to draw, do interesting images. That's just a backwash of pale green, some cut out images, and some writing. You can also collage old journals, you know, old writing, and make them into sort of variations of that. So here we go. So here you go. So that's a starting point. Gel pen wise, Sakura is a great brand. They're Japanese. They're a good quality gel pen. Gel pens themselves tend to gung up after a while. There's not really any way around that. They're not the best, but what you can do is put them in warm water and just sort of gunk them if they're getting a little bit sluggish or they're sticking a bit. So on a practical level, oh, something fell on the roof. Okay, so many things you could be doing. One of the things too, we're just going to actually, I'm going to prompt you a little bit, and we're just going to do an experiential at the moment. And I want to help while we're on the call together to set you up for a couple of prompts. So get your pen out, and we're going to give you some things to write down. So first, at the top of the page, writing a quote by Leo Tolstoy: "True life is lived when tiny changes occur." So, true life is lived when tiny changes occur. We often look for dramatic indicators in life. Am I doing things right? What decisions do we make? Like, I want dramatic change. We're in a culture it's all about big steps and measurements and competition and keeping up and all of these things. But really, life is very much more about subtlety, and small shifts are what really make the most significant impact in our lives, and those and in our wellness. And even just a slight attitude in perceptual change is what really makes a difference for us, those kinds of things. So I love that quote for this. It's, again, Tolstoy is also from a different time, not the 21st century. And so you think, you know, we are in a crazy time right now between pandemic and technology and just our capacity, space travel, just the fact that we can find a vaccination for a pandemic that just happened 9 months ago. We are in an incredibly advanced period of time, and yet, we still have these mammalian bodies. We're still wild things. We need to really honor that we can't keep up that speed and that pace. This is why the art of journaling is about making that space just slow down a little bit and go inward. So some questions to start. 3 desires. I want you to think about 3 desires that you wish to expand in your life, and write them as though they already have happened in present time. So imagining the end of 2021, and imagine that you're writing yourself in the future to now, and what's different. What are those 3 desires that have expanded? Now they're present and they've happened, and what are they? So, right into what's different, what's shifted, how do you feel, who are you with, where are you, what's the temperature, give the details and the specifics, and really think about those desires. Are you being stingy with yourself? Like, where can you be more generous about your inner, allowing your inner forbidden joys? Like, ask yourself, how am I mean and miserly with myself? List 10 things you love and would love to do, but are not allowing yourself to. And it doesn't matter what the reasons are. Like, just really list them and just, really look at, what would I do if it weren't too selfish? Unless, like, how are you thinking about it in that way? And also then writing out the biggest lack in my life. What is that right now? We're just going to spend a bit of time sinking into that space. Really let yourself, give yourself permission here. Really savor, savor, savor it all on your tongue like a beautiful, smooth chocolate mousse. Just really feel into it and taste it. Really sense. You gave yourself full permission. What would you give your longing license to choose? Keep going. You're doing great. Just let yourself really sink into it. Feel your feet on the ground. Questions are where the power is. Deep, searing, loving questions. If you're stuck, take a few breaths. Soften your face, soften your belly. No rush. This is about time, all the time in the world for yourself, all that you need. I'm right here with you. Okay. So, a few more questions for you to add to that. You can get to the rest and keep going with them. Spend more time with them after the call. Next question is, next year I will melt ... And what part of myself have I been neglecting most? What part of myself have I been neglecting most? Remembering your voice matters. And if you're not listening to your own voice, how can you share it? And the last question for right now to add, even if you're not finished at the moment, you can go back to those. Just adding, I have a tiny fear that follows me everywhere, but I did not ... Okay, so again, you can go as deep as you want and come back and again to these questions and redo them. But then the other thing about journaling is that we have a blueprint of our lives and our blueprint of our own. You know, it's the archaeology of our own life. So you get to go back and explore that for yourself. And you can see the themes. And sometimes when we go back in old journals, we see the themes, maybe our pitfalls, maybe our tendency, maybe we get stuck in self-pity, maybe we have a lot of resentment. How do we learn to work through that better? Or what do we need to pay attention to? Or what can we shift? What's underneath that? And is, you know, how do we have to set different boundaries? Or what is it pointing us to? Like, are we being truthful with ourselves? So one of the other things that you can do with writing is go back through it and then kind of redact it with a black pen, and not in an editing way, not criticizing your writing, but in a way of sort of bringing out the haiku or the essentialism of it, you know, the core essence. So just little spots of, so for example, with this, it's just curious. So I redacted this to the point where it sort of became more interesting to me, where now it says, marks, trapped thoughts, overwhelmed, outside, consumed by insecurities. This state of mind, extremely vulnerable outside. Outside goes inside. I'm left wondering. Again, you know, it's just for you, and it's just an opportunity for you to explore different ways of expressing yourself. And maybe you're a songwriter, maybe you're a poet, maybe you're not any of those things. Maybe you're an engineer or an accountant, and you just want to explore your creative aspect or your emotional aspect in a different way, because there isn't a ton of that option at work. So, you know, this is for everybody and anybody. This one is like sensitivity, and then, you know, it's crossed off. Sensitivity does not feel like a curse. This gift is a catalyst for positive change. There you go. So think about embracing your own sensitivity, and where do you wall it off? Where do you necessarily sort of squash it or keep it really safe in numbness? And just allow it to soften. So, all right, a couple of more. Oh, here's an action thing I'd like you to try right now. So I just want you to take a pen. You've got something handy, and I want you to just take a piece of paper, any piece of paper, and I want you to just draw a really fast line, like whoop, like really fast. Really fast. Feel the energy of that, and now do 3 really fast lines. And now, okay, like even I can just feel my arm even just tingling from that. And now I want you to take up and really do a super slow line, just really meandering. Really slow. Gently, gently, slow. And then do another line, even slower and even lighter, like barely touching the page. when we do that, can you feel the difference in the energy? Like, can you feel like, okay, emotion is energy. And so we come at this with what we're bringing, which is why you also want to be embodied. You want to be aware of your feet on the ground. You want to be aware of, your arms in space, your hands being open, and just being, not only in your head. We're allowing energy to move through us. So notice the feeling that came up each time you just drew a line. And then you can bring that to, so if you're mad, hold the pen like this and really get into it. Here's an example of what I would call an ugly page to give you the illustration. So started with just like pastel. And if you want to make a mess, get pastels. If you really keep things neat and tidy and are always super perfectionistic, get yourself some pastels, because you cannot be perfectionistic with those suckers. You got to allow yourself to make a little bit of a mess. It's not all about beauty. It's about, letting yourself see the underbelly, see the inside of you, the passion, the volcano that lives in you, So, yeah, so the first layer was just a mess, just like, I don't know what to do, I'm frustrated, I feel all blocked up. So this is the colors, like there's a little bit of pink, there's blue, there's green, there's orangey. And then the second stage was, okay, well, this is super ugly. What am I going to do with this? It's just for me. It's not like anything, apart from doing a live webinar, is going to be seeing it. And so then I wrote in chaos, staccato, frustration, those kinds of things. You write in the words after the fact. That's the energy of the page. Sometimes we don't have to make it a narrative or verbal or thinking or words. It's just the energy that we need to release. Maybe sometimes you go for a run or kickboxing instead, but there's different ways. Sometimes it's pouring out or stormy out, so you can't go do those things. Can't always snowshoe yourself through things. So then I came back and then brought in a little bit of lyrical, a little bit of control with the black. Then I just did repetitive shapes, because I wanted to do drawing, but I did not feel like I had any drawing ability with me. So just repetitive shapes. And in a way, the lyrical just became the counterpoint to this sensual kind of, to the chaotic, sort of frenetic energy of that page. So yeah, it's my journal. It's an ugly page. It's not like I'm, sometimes you do artwork and it's a little bit more involved, and sometimes you just let yourself make a mess. So this page started off as just darkness was the first word. So you see that I just printed that hugely messily, and then that became painted with blue over top for a night sky. Then that became a night sky. Then that became figures. Then that became other things, the earth, animals, hearts, and do your work in the world. So there you go. Sometimes you just explore your way out of the darkness. Sometimes it doesn't shift all at once. But remember Tolstoy, it comes in subtle shifts. That's the thing, right? So, okay, that's another example of some of these things. If you're interested in doing more collage, there goes one I was going to show you. One of the collage exercises you could do, if collage is your thing or that interests you, is a past version of yourself, a current version of yourself, and a future version of yourself. And you can even, take a photograph of yourself, photocopy the face, and then, use your own image in the collage. Woo! Okay. Getting a little tired, as you can see, going a little Twilight Zone. So I will not belabor this any further. I think you've gotten the idea. One of the couple other things before we close off is try tracing your own hand, just like we did when we were kids. Just make a hand on your page, on a blank page. That's your hand, like match your hand. Their hands are so amazing, so capable. Trace your hand, and then along the edge of your hand, I want you to just write, your desires for 2021, and also in the hand, I want you to write down all the length of the fingers, all the things you're ready to release with an open hand that you no longer want to hold on to, that you're just giving back, that are behind you now from 2020. Don't have to hang on to that energy anymore. And just to write that in and just imagine just letting it go, while the energy of what you want to create is all the way around it and just starting to formulate and coming to you. So, you know, here's another prompt for a prompt to journal on after the call, which is Dear 2021. So the edges are tingling with renewal, ... So that's just to get you started. You're gonna have to come up with the rest. So, and if you're feeling really stuck in your head, really bottled up, really numbed out, really like you don't know what you're feeling, I want you to try writing with your other hand. And it will be awkward, it will be messy, and it's just helpful to get you out of your left-sided brain, out of the logical, out of the linear, and sort of join it's like bilateral integration. So you're just trying to link your brain so that you're into flow, into more of your center, into your nervous system. And sometimes it takes a little more prompting, a little more priming of the pump than we would like, depending on what's going on for us. So 5 juicy words. If you want to write down 5 juicy words just to get yourself going. Cake, angel, sparkles, shenanigans, mist, bubbles, juicy. And then just see where those lists take you. Kiss. And one more sentence prompt. Again, this is remembering, this is embracing your wildness, your organic mammalian being before time and space. What was your essence doing? You know, like, did you just never exist before you were conceived? It's interesting to think about that. Well, actually, you know, parts of you was an egg, parts of you was a sperm, parts of your energy was long before you kind of activated as a complete entity. So where were you? Maybe that's the question you want to ask yourself. Where was I before I was conceived? I don't have the answer for you, so there's no right and wrong. And on top of that, so another sentence prompt, it's very late in the Valley of the Gods. Why not ... Okay. And then I want you to draw like just one undulating line like this. And I want you to imagine just doing a couple of lines like that. And then I want you to write along that line. So it's no longer linear. It just helps you prompt out of that always that linear way of viewing things. It's just allowing yourself into the feminine, into the undulating, into the organic, arboresque. Oh my gosh. Arabesque. That's it. Arabesque line. So that, you know, it just changes it up. And so it's like also starting at the top corner of your page and then turning the page as you go and just writing in a spiral. So kind of like this, but you don't even have to draw the spiral. It's just allowing yourself to write in a circular way. So there you go. And once again, I think that we're coming to the end. I think that's probably enough prompts to get you going. I really thank you for being here and showing any interest in this. I hope this has been of some value. I could go on and on forever because I love this stuff, but you know, I know you have other things to do as well. Again, I appreciate you so much to being here. Paint your pages. It sometimes helps inspire you to start. Give yourself permission to just be you. You know, it can look like tension. It can look like you're just releasing marks and you're talking. And when we're going through rough stuff, we can just list all the things that are bothering us. And sometimes it's amazing. If you wake up with insomnia, write it out. Start writing to yourself. If you need comfort, write yourself a comforting level. If you're agitated or there's too many things, 100 things on your mind, write them down. It will externalize it. It will allow you to have a holding place for it. And then you go back to taking care of yourself by climbing back into bed, warming up, and going to sleep, which is what we want to do at the middle of the night. All right. So thank you for being here. I really appreciate you showing up and being a part of this. And I will leave you with this beautiful song from Beautiful Chorus. Keep journaling and trust. Paying attention to your home and decluttering your closets into this house that you live in constantly will only start to feel lighter and more accessible and beautiful and more spacious. Namaste. I see myself in joy and love. I know myself, I am enough. I see